Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, this time we're really digging into a fascinating transcript.
Right. From a recent live Q&A.
With Team Grifasi live
Yeah.
over on YouTube.
It's so cool because we get to hear Calogero, Elena, Freddy, and Angi like right there answering all these questions.
It's like being a fly on the wall.
Totally, totally. And right away, one thing that really stood out to me was, well, they've been doing those Facebook live streams, right?
Yeah. Right.
But now they've added a dedicated YouTube channel called Academy.
Oh, yeah. And they mentioned that Facebook Live just wasn't working as well for them anymore.
Yeah. And plus those live videos, they kind of just disappear.
Yeah, they do. So this Academy channel on YouTube is where they're focusing now.
And it seems to be all about training and education.
Yeah, especially with hypnosis.
Yeah, they've got operator courses, advanced techniques.
It seems like a big shift for them. It really does. I mean, moving beyond just doing sessions and investigations, they're really getting into teaching and sharing their knowledge.
Empowering others to develop those skills.
Right. And so that's what we're going to do today. Dive into this lively conversation, pull out the most insightful part.
Those aha moments.
Yeah, the stuff that'll really give you a clear understanding of what was going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one of the first things they talked about, well, it was about energy and entities.
Ah, yes. The age-old question, do they feed on sadness or joy?
Right. And Elena had a really interesting take on this.
She did. What she basically said was, it doesn't really matter which emotion.
Oh.
What matters is whether we allow them access.
So it's not the emotion itself.
Not so much, no. It's more about whether we give away our power, our will.
I see. So we're always in control.
That's what she's suggesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And Freddy seemed to agree.
He did, and actually one of their clients was surprised to hear that entities might even feed on, like high-frequency energies.
Right. You tend to think they're attracted to lower vibrational stuff.
Like fear and sadness and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But Freddy pointed out, well, while those low-frequency feeders are probably more common,
Yeah.
Just because of all the interference we're exposed to, there are entities that can, they can kind of draw energy from those higher frequencies too.
Interesting.
It's like some entities are drawn to dense energy, others prefer something more subtle.
A taste for finer things.
You could say that.
Yeah.
And they said they're going to explore this more deeply in a future live session.
So stay tuned for that.
Definitely.
Okay, so moving on, they also tackled this classic question of, can everyone be hypnotized?
Yes. The hypnotic susceptibility question.
Right. And Angi had a pretty strong opinion on this.
She did. Angi was adamant that everyone can be hypnotized.
Wow, really?
She's had a lot of experience as a support operator, and based on that, she's convinced that it's an ability that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
She believes that it's not some external force. It's an energetic ability. And since we are fundamentally energetic beings, not just physical bodies.
That makes sense.
It's just part of who we are.
So it's not a question of if, but how easily.
Exactly. The depth and speed at which someone goes into hypnosis, well, it can vary a lot.
I guess it depends on the person.
Their experiences, their willingness to engage with the process.
Right.
Angi also mentioned overcoming limiting beliefs, finding the right way to connect with your subconscious.
Interesting.
And she said that in their hypnosis courses, people enter hypnotic states in all sorts of ways.
So there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Not at all. We're all wired a little differently.
Okay, well, let's shift gears a bit. They talked about something that's always fascinating to me. Intrusive dream entities.
Oh, that's a good one. Someone asked how to prevent them from causing fear.
Yeah, and Freddy had some really interesting thoughts on this, even a personal story.
Freddy's perspective is all about understanding your own energy, your energetic signature, and looking for any weaknesses, any fissures that might attract these entities.
Like cracks in our armor.
You could say that. He suggested that it's not always them coming to us. Sometimes our energetic state during sleep might actually cause us to kind of physicalize in their space.
Wow. Like accidentally walking into someone else's dream.
Yeah, something like that. And then he told this story, a really strange dream.
What happened?
Well, he said this attractive figure came up to him and kissed him.
Whoa.
But instead of reacting with fear, Freddy was just open and non-reactive. And the figure hesitated and then left.
Interesting.
It seems like his unexpected response totally disrupted whatever the entity was trying to do.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the key. Not giving them what they want.
It's certainly worth pondering.
It is. And then Calogero shared his own dream.
He did, an even weirder one. He dreamt of a poison cake offered by a reptilian child.
A reptilian child?
Yeah. Apparently it was like some form of interference training.
Oh, wow. So different dreams, different lessons.
It really highlights the bizarre and unexpected nature of those dream interactions, doesn't it?
It does. And it reminds me of how Selena handles these situations. She takes a more assertive approach.
Oh, yes, she definitely doesn't back down.
And it sounds like those dream intruders just avoid her altogether now.
It seems to work for her.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about these different approaches?
I guess what's really interesting is, despite how different they are, both stories show that our energy, how we react, it all plays a role in these dream encounters.
It suggests that we do have some control.
Even in our subconscious.
Right. It makes you wonder how you usually react in your dreams.
Definitely something to think about.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on to something a little more down to earth. Someone asked about feeling positive changes after a session, but still sensing that some issues haven't been fully resolved.
Yeah, a common experience. Elena had some good advice for that.
What did she say?
Well, she stressed the importance of self-reflection, really taking time to process the changes.
Yeah.
But she also said that if those blocks persist, despite your best efforts, further sessions can help.
I see. So sometimes you need that extra guidance.
It can make a difference.
Right, right. And for anyone listening who's interested, they did provide contact information for booking sessions.
With Calogero, Elena, Freddy, and Angi,
Yeah.
it's there if you feel like a deeper exploration is needed.
Absolutely. Now, let's circle back to that Academy channel.
Yeah, the one we talked about earlier.
Right. They reiterated that it's all about training people to become hypnosis operators.
And diving into more advanced topics.
Yeah, and what I found really interesting was the reason behind this special training course.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, it's designed to help people who already have a basic understanding of hypnosis to be able to answer their own questions about esoteric interference.
So they're not just learning techniques, they're learning to become more self-sufficient.
Exactly. They're developing a deeper level of understanding.
When they talk about esoteric interference, we're talking about those subtle influences that can affect us.
The stuff we can't see or touch but can definitely feel.
Yeah, like energetic noise or deliberate interference.
From sources we might not even be aware of.
Exactly. It's a pretty complex area.
It is. And there's actually a bit of a time limit on enrolling in the special course, right?
Oh, is there?
Yeah, Calogero mentioned something about focusing on languages with higher levels of interest.
Okay.
So if they don't get enough participants for the Spanish version,
They might put it on hold.
and focus on other languages where there's more demand.
Makes sense. They have to allocate their resources effectively.
Exactly. And he also mentioned that they have different departments now.
Oh, how's that structured?
One for sessions, one for investigations, and now this new one for training.
For formation.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how their organization is evolving.
It is.
Okay, so there was a question, a more personal one, directed at Freddy and Angi.
Oh, what?
Well, someone asked if they'll be partners in future lives.
Wow. What did they say to that?
Well, they were pretty open. They've obviously thought about past life connections.
It seems so.
They said they've shared a lot of lifetimes in different roles. Siblings, protectors, even partners.
Sometimes switching genders.
Yeah, pretty fascinating.
It is.
And while they didn't rule out being partners again,
They acknowledge the uncertainty of future choices.
free will and all that.
Absolutely. Nothing is set in stone.
So, on to a topic we can all relate to. Anxiety. Someone asked how to manage it.
Ah, yes, the ever-present anxiety.
And Calogero shared a very direct, almost forceful technique.
Oh, what did he suggest?
He talked about simply deciding not to have anxiety.
Just like that.
Yeah, he even told a story from when he was a teenager. He said he overcame his own anxiety through sheer willpower.
Interesting. A powerful example of mind over matter.
It is, though it might not work for everyone.
Not a one-size-fits-all solution, for sure.
He did mention hypnosis as another option.
Right, addressing anxiety from an energetic perspective.
Looking at the root causes.
Yeah. Makes you think, have you ever tried to just decide against feeling a certain way?
I have, and it can be tough.
It takes practice.
Okay, so moving on. Someone asked a really intriguing question. Are self-moving objects a sign of a disincarnate being?
Ooh, a spooky one.
They actually discussed several possibilities.
Like what?
Well, it could be a disincarnate entity.
A ghost.
Yeah, but they also mentioned unconscious personal abilities.
So maybe we're doing it without realizing.
Right, like a subtle form of psychokinesis.
That's fascinating.
And they even brought up interfering entities.
Those pesky interferers.
And you know those playful gnome-like beings they've mentioned before?
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
They said those could be a factor, too.
So many possibilities.
So many. The key takeaway was to do an energetic assessment.
Figure out the real cause before jumping to conclusions.
Don't assume it's always a ghost. Now, this next question was a bit more lighthearted. Someone asked if the Team Grifasi method has ever been used for, like, top secret or political stuff.
Oh, that's a good one. Did they spill the beans?
They were very coy. Basically, they said if they told us, it wouldn't be top secret anymore.
They left us hanging.
They did, but it definitely adds to the mystery.
It does, it does.
Okay, so on to a more potentially sensitive topic. The concept of humans without souls.
Oh, that's a big one.
And Calogero shared his perspective on this.
What did he think?
He strongly disagreed with the idea. He believes the soul is the animating consciousness.
The core of who we are.
Exactly. And he said it's basically impossible for a human to exist without one.
So, no soulless humans in his view.
Right. He did make a point about understanding how the term soul is being used.
The different definitions can lead to different interpretations.
Absolutely. Now, imagine an investigation on a grand scale,
Yeah.
exploring the existence of God.
Wow, that's a big one.
Someone asked how they would approach it.
I'm curious to hear their thoughts.
Well, they said they've encountered beings claiming to be gods or creators
Really?
from all sorts of religious traditions.
Wow.
But what they've noticed is that these figures are often connected to mechanisms of control.
Control.
Yeah, things like fear, guilt, the need for salvation.
Interesting.
So instead of proving the existence of one god, it's more like a complex web of entities.
Influencing our beliefs and systems.
Yeah, it makes you think about those religious narratives in a different light.
It does.
Okay, so shifting gears again, Narita talked about time.
Time.
Yeah, the idea that everything happens in the present moment.
Ah, the eternal now.
Right. She explained it pretty simply. The past is gone.
Just memory.
And the future hasn't happened yet.
So the only reality is now.
Exactly. And even when we access those memories or think about the future,
We're doing it from the present moment.
a powerful reminder to focus on the now.
Absolutely.
Okay, there was a skeptical comment directed at Angi about her abilities.
Ugh. What was it about?
Someone questioned her capacity to handle powerful entities.
Like Lucifer.
Exactly.
And what did Angi say?
She confirms she has interacted with entities identifying as Lucifer.
Wow.
But she said her approach isn't about domination.
So not a battle of good versus evil.
No, it's about understanding and allowing them their freedom.
A different philosophy.
Very different.
It emphasizes understanding over conflict.
It does.
Interesting.
Now, onto a more personal topic. Dreams of deceased loved ones.
Ah, those can be so powerful.
A listener shared her experience of dreaming about her mother who'd passed away.
Oh, I see.
And she was concerned because her mother appeared unwell in the dream.
That's tough.
Freddy suggested that it might not actually be her mother.
Oh.
It could be an energetic attachment or even another entity mimicking her.
Especially if there's a lot of grief involved.
Right. And he recommended hypnosis to figure out what's really going on.
Makes sense. Get some clarity on situation.
Yeah. So not all dream appearances are what they seem.
It's a good reminder.
It is. Now let's talk about the difference between remote viewing, meditation, and hypnosis.
Good idea. Those terms can be confusing.
So meditation is about self-relaxation and introspection.
Going inward.
Right. And it can lead to self-hypnosis for those who are sensitive enough.
Interesting.
Hypnosis, as they practice it, is guided by an operator.
Someone who directs this session.
And has a broader view of the information.
Okay.
And then remote viewing is perceiving something far away.
Without being there physically or energetically.
Right.
So each practice has a different purpose.
It does.
Makes sense.
Now, there was this question. It seemed to be about out-of-body experiences, but the word used in the transcript was OSL.
OSL.
Yeah, I think they meant OBE.
Oh, I see.
The listener asked about managing fear during these experiences.
Okay.
Calogero said fear usually comes from the unknown,
That makes sense.
and that as you become more familiar with the experience, the fear diminishes.
So knowledge is power.
It is. It is.
That's good advice for anyone exploring those realms.
Right. Now, a practical question. Should you practice hypnosis on loved ones without training?
Good question.
Their advice was a resounding no.
Probably for the best.
They emphasize the importance of learning these techniques properly.
Through their courses, of course.
Right. So don't try this at home, folks.
Definitely not.
Lastly, they address the cremation versus burial question.
Ah, another big one.
Calogero's view was pretty detached.
So,
He said once someone has passed and their consciousness has detached from the body, well, it doesn't really matter what happens to the physical remains.
interesting.
He acknowledged that for some people who are very attached to their physical form, there might be a lingering connection.
Okay.
But he said the method of disposal doesn't really affect the consciousness of the deceased.
So cremation versus burial, it's more about the living.
That's his perspective. Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It really has. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
So many fascinating insights.
A key theme that stood out to me was the importance of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Thinking critically, understanding your own energy.
As we navigate these complex realities,
It's a reminder to pay attention to our reactions, our beliefs.
our energetic states.
Yeah, everything's connected.
And if you're interested in exploring these topics further,
We encourage you to check out the hypnosis sessions and training courses.
all the information is in the show notes.
It leaves us with a final thought.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the most profound deep dive is the one into our own inner power.
Understanding how we interact with the seen and unseen.
What resonated most deeply with you today?
What does that tell you about your own journey?
For those who want to engage directly with Team Grifasi, their next live session is this Thursday at 17:30 Madrid time.
It's an open question format, so tune in and ask away.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time,
Happy exploring.
bye everyone!